Poor little Rodrick Heffley. He just wants to play the drums, read heavy metal magazines, and hang out with his pals. Perhaps he's so sad because his family's insane. As this user says, Roderick's the only one who isn't a nutcrack. Greg's a sociopath wimp who broke his best friend's bones twice. Susan is a Karen who does everything to get what her little hellspawn baby wants. Manny is the living embodiment of Satan. Frank would rather play with toys than with his own family. Indeed, fans believe Rodrick is the only normal Heffley. Well, if he's so normal, then riddle me this, Rodrick fanboys. Why does Rodrick force Bill, his best friend, to break up with his girlfriend? Why does Rodrick then show no sympathy at Bill's subsequent mental breakdown? I'm not making this up. It's in the pages of the book Diaper Overload. This is a newer Wimpy Kid book, released in 2022. Sales were down, so you may not have read it. Did you know that the failure of a Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie ended up costing the actor who played Rodrick $425,000? And there were dozens of petitions launched to get that actor fired. True story. More on that later. Furthermore, in the original, more popular books, why does Rodrick put Greg in severe physical danger on numerous occasions, as well as imprisoning him without access to a toilet? If these books are based on the memories of Diary of a Wimpy Kid author Jeff Kinney, then I feel sorry for the man. He clearly went through some trauma as a child. Part 1. Who is Rodrick Heffley? Rodrick Heffley, the eldest son in the Heffley family, is best known for his love of drumming and his band Loaded Diaper, as well as his lazy and rebellious nature. His relationship with Greg is tumultuous, filled with sibling rivalry, pranks, and very occasional moments of camaraderie. Note, very occasional. Non-existent, even. However, when I read comments online about Rodrick Heffley, older brother of the beleaguered Greg, sometimes I wonder if they're talking about the same character that I've read about in the books. This user says, Rodrick is meant to look like the bad guy, since the books are in Greg's perspective. He's just a normal teenager. This is a theme that will come up a lot from Rodrick defenders. They'll say, we can't be sure what Rodrick's really like, because Greg's an unreliable narrator. And then they'll assume the best of Rodrick and excuse all of his bad behaviour as Greg making up lies to make his brother look bad. I'll come on to this line of reasoning later, because I don't think it's a valid way to defend Rodrick. In fact, I have pretty good proof that it isn't. This user provides a bit more balance, stating he's the cool big brother that everyone looks up to. Yeah, he's a jerk sometimes, but he's one of the more normal members of the family. This user soys out, saying, all hail Rodrick. It's deeply concerning that people see how Rodrick acts as being normal behaviour. Part 2. Why do people like Rodrick so much? I think that there are two reasons why Rodrick has such a positive reputation in the Diary of a Wimpy Kid community. The first one is obvious. As this user puts it, 2 words. Devon Bostick. Devon blew everyone's minds with his wonderfully quirky portrayal of Rodrick Heffley in the first 3 Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies. I say first 3 because, remember, there was a 4th Wimpy Kid movie that had another actor come in to replace Devon as Rodrick. It didn't go down well with the fans. As this user says, Devon Bostick did the character well, but we do not talk about he who must not be named from the long haul. Charlie Wright. His name was Charlie Wright, and he did his best. As I said, we're going to talk about Charlie and his messy relationship with the character of Rodrick Heffley later on in this video. Book Rodrick and movie Rodrick are 2 completely separate entities. This video is not a criticism of the movie Rodrick or either of the actors who played him. This user puts it very succinctly, writing, like Alan Rickman as Snape, Devon Bostick's Rodrick made so many people fall in love with him because of the actor and his performance, with many forgetting how they actually are in the books. This user adds, that's why I like the movies more. Every character is much more likable. And yet, Book Rodrick still has his defenders. Indeed, the second reason for Rodrick's popularity is the viral video released by the YouTuber Late Night Pies. Their video, crafted with precision and humour, has managed to convince many that Rodrick is just a typical older brother. By showcasing Rodrick's funny and relatable moments, the video downplays his serious transgressions. Late Night Pies uses both a comedic narrative and innovative animation to highlight Rodrick's antics, making him seem more likeable and sympathetic. This user was clearly convinced by the video, writing, lazy? Yes. Bully? No. When Rodrick pulled that "you slept through the entire summer" prank on Greg, he probably didn't mean for Greg to get in trouble. It was pretty harmless at the end of the day. I agree that this particular prank was funny and didn't really do any actual harm. I always feel a bit sorry for Frank, the father, when I reread it, being woken up all bleary-eyed and confused. However, I don't think that the way that Rodrick treats Greg, and more tellingly, how Rodrick treats his bandmates in the book Diaper Overload, can be considered normal behaviour. Yes, older brothers pick on their younger siblings, I get that. But Rodrick crosses the line with Greg on a number of occasions. Just for clarity, this video will focus on the Diary of a Wimpy Kid books. I mean, you really thought I was going to make an argument against Devon Bostick? Are you kidding? Leave a like if you think that they should make a new Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie with Devon Bostick reprising the role of Rodrick Heffley. And hit subscribe if you agree Rodrick needs his own spin-off. Part 3. Is this how a normal big brother behaves? For many people, Rodrick treating Greg badly, as the teenage older brother of a middle school kid, is par for the course. But he does seem to take particular enjoyment in seeing Greg suffer. Rodrick may well be a terrible student, who can forget his poem 100 years ago. Did cavemen ride on dinosaurs? Did flowers even grow? Well, we could guess, but that was back 100 years ago. But don't be fooled. He's not as dumb as his laughably bad poem, nor his poor spelling. Remember when he spelled the dog's name as Sweaty rather than Sweetie on the personalized food bowl would have you believe. He is smart enough to know what really matters to his younger brother Greg. He uses this to hurt his sibling as much as possible. Apart from trying to get through the day in his pretty nasty middle school, which mixes gigantic fully grown teens with barely out of diapers tweens, Greg dreams of having a relationship with the most popular girl in the school, Holly Hills. A relationship with Holly is the one thing that will make Greg happy, or at least what Greg thinks would make him happy. Also explored in a Late Night Pies video, which dubs Greg a simp. They also call him a sociopath. I guess Late Night Pies really hates Greg, huh? In the book The Last Straw, Greg somehow manages to acquire Holly's phone number. He plucks up the courage to make the call, but wait a second. Where are the phones? That's right, Rodrick steals them. Therefore, Greg will have to make the phone call using the family phone, which happens to be in a communal area. Rodrick becomes privy to this fact, and therefore decides to sit by the downstairs phone grinning, knowing that he is preventing his brother from calling Holly. Knowing Greg as Rodrick does, he knows that Greg will never make this phone call in front of him, due to embarrassment and also due to fear that Rodrick will mess things up for him. Rodrick sabotages Greg's chance of a relationship and takes pleasure in doing so. Maybe this is a normal way for some older brothers to behave in some households, I don't know. But it's definitely mean-spirited. Rodrick has also been physically abusive to Greg on a number of occasions. For example, his idea of an April Fool's gag is to punch Greg first thing in the morning. He also hits Greg in the backside with a paintball. Twice. Having been hit by many a paintball, I know just how painful this is, especially for a young kid like Greg. Even Rodrick defenders admit that he bullies Greg, but pass it off as just a boys being boys situation. This user writes that, in the books, he was lazy and a bully, but that's not unusual for a kid his age. He'll grow and mature. Indeed, Rodrick fans would argue that this might just be older brothers and younger brothers squabbling. Rodrick may be a bully, but so are many lads at that age. So what? In time, he'll grow and mature into an upstanding young citizen, they might argue. But I don't think what Rodrick does to Greg in the book Rodrick Rules can be considered boys just being boys. Rodrick crosses the line, quite considerably, actually. He blackmails Greg, as this user says. He locks Greg in the basement during the party, and even lets Greg take the blame for the party. Greg didn't snitch on Rodrick, because Rodrick was blackmailing him with the embarrassing thing he did over the summer. Yes, Rodrick holds Greg's secret over him throughout the entire book to, in turn, manipulate Greg into doing what Rodrick wants. This includes holding an illicit house party, which trashes the Heffley household. As part of this blackmail, Greg ends up being locked in the basement, whilst Rodrick parties with his friends. Poor Greg even has to help clean and tidy up the destruction of the house party that he wasn't allowed to attend. Who would be a middle child, eh? Comment below if you'd like me to do a video on middle child syndrome. It's a real thing that may have impacted some of you snipe snappers too. Greg cannot even tell his parents about this imprisonment due to his fear of Roderick's retribution, which is pretty dark, really, when you think about it, especially as this is meant to be a kid's book. It's the dictionary definition of blackmail, literally. Blackmail is defined as demanding money or another benefit, in this case Greg's silence and compliance, from someone in return for not revealing compromising or damaging information about them. This may well be brushed off by fans of Rodrick, but is Greg given food down in the basement? Does he have anything to drink? Is there access to a toilet even? The last question isn't actually rhetorical. The answer's no. Greg couldn't access the toilet. We know this because, in the book Old School, Rowley comes over for a sleepover at the Heffley household in the basement. He is described as coming downstairs from the bathroom when he does his annoying booyah kick and ends up breaking his toe. If there was a toilet downstairs in the basement, then why would Rowley bother going upstairs? The only conclusion you can draw is that the bathroom is upstairs in the main part of the Heffley house and there is no toilet in the basement. I don't think locking another sibling up overnight away from the comfort of a bathroom, or their own bedroom for that matter, can be considered normal sibling behaviour. I actually feel a bit sorry for anyone that thinks it is the actions of a normal teenager. You may come from an abusive household yourself. You see, if I took my cat Lucky, locked him overnight without access to food, water, or a litter tray, I would quite rightly receive vitriolic abuse in the comments. So why is it okay when it happens to Greg? Disclaimer: Lucky receives the best food and kitty litter that money can buy. Rodrick also physically endangers his brother when he picks him up from band practice. Despite the fact that there is a seat in the front of the car, Rodrick makes him sit in the back. Greg is in severe danger. There is no seat, and Roderick's heavy metallic drum kit moves around wildly as Rodrick drives. Poor Greg fears having his head taken off by the equipment. This is exacerbated by Roderick's decision to go over every speed bump that he can find, showing a sadistic side to Roderick's nature. I hope no impressionable young kids tried to copy the cool Rodrick when they got older. There may have been dire, possibly even fatal, consequences. Greg acknowledges the potential life-changing consequences a ride with Rodrick could have. These earlier books are based on the memories of the author Jeff Kinney growing up. Kinney has mentioned that the Heffley family is very loosely based on my own family, and Greg is made up of all the worst parts from adolescence. I strive to remember funny things from my childhood, then I put these memories in the fiction blender, and this material sometimes winds up in the books. I mean, I sincerely hope that Jeff Kinney's older brothers didn't treat him like how Rodrick treats Greg. It's made for some great stories, and made Mr. Kinney an unbelievably wealthy man. His net worth is $80 million. But it's still not a nice way for a human being to be treated, no matter the future financial compensation he may receive. Part 4. How does Rodrick treat his friends? For those that excuse Rodrick's behaviour as just being a bad older brother, a great litmus test for the true nature of Rodrick's character is how he treats people around his own age. For this test, I'll analyse Rodrick's relationship with Bill, lead singer of the rock band Loaded Diaper, for whom Rodrick plays the drums. I mean, I know that Bill is a little bit older than Rodrick. He's 35, I believe, but mentally, let's be honest, he's on about Rodrick's level. Despite their age gap, Rodrick doesn't seem to respect Bill as a man. Indeed, Rodrick doesn't treat Bill very well at all. Despite this user writes that Rodrick actually isn't all that bad. He is nicer to Greg as the series goes on. He's pretty chill and teases Greg on occasion. Read Diaper Overload and see what I mean. Yes, Rodrick may treat Greg somewhat decently in this book, but man alive, he treats his bandmate poorly. Rodrick becomes jealous that Bill is destined to become the face of his beloved band Loaded Diaper. Rodrick thoroughly dislikes the direction that the band is going in because of the influence of Bill's girlfriend. She is making Bill sing more about love and relationships. More commercial stuff, basically, rather than the more hardcore heavy metal topics which Rodrick prefers. So, Rodrick made an executive decision. As this user points out, he made his bandmate break up with his girlfriend in order for him to focus more on the band instead of his own love life. As it says in the book, Rodrick said, since he was the leader of Loaded Diaper, that meant he got to call the shots. He told Bill that his relationship with Becky was a big distraction, so the new rule was that nobody was allowed to date until after the competition was over. Bill therefore breaks up with Holly to appease Rodrick. However, the ending of the relationship has a very, very negative impact on Bill's well-being. He is devastated and described as being totally heartbroken. We can see this in the book, where it states that Bill couldn't even show up. He can't get through a song without breaking down in tears. Rodrick is described as not exactly showing Bill a lot of sympathy in the book. This may actually be a psychopathic trait, as Rodrick is failing to show any empathy for his alleged friend. Instead, Rodrick puts the ambitions of himself, as the self-described leader of the group, over his friend's happiness. So, he sabotaged his younger brother's relationship and his best friend / bandmate's relationship too. Seems to be a theme here. This user, who feels the need to defend Rodrick, says, "Remember, the books are narrated by Greg. It's very likely that a lot of the things he does, at least towards Greg, are quite exaggerated. This may be a valid argument when it comes to how Rodrick treats Greg. But why would Greg, often called an unreliable narrator, feel the need to lie about Rodrick's treatment of Bill?" You can't use the unreliable narrator argument here. I'm afraid it simply doesn't work under any circumstance. Rodrick's actions towards Bill are a clear indicator of his selfishness and lack of empathy. Part 5. Is Rodrick ever nice to anyone? Ever? To Rodrick defenders, comment below to give me one example in the books of when he's decent to Greg or Manny, the youngest Heffley sibling, for that matter. One time, that's all I ask for when Rodrick isn't self-serving. By the way, if your example includes him helping his brother in a way that also benefits himself, then that doesn't count. It has to be an act of altruism. So I repeat, give me one example where Rodrick is a good brother, or even a good son, or even just a good friend, because I can give you an example in reverse. In Rodrick Rules, the very same book where Greg is blackmailed and imprisoned by his older brother, Greg helps Rodrick out in a massive way. The brothers conduct a last-ditch science project together, posing the fascinating hypothesis, do plants sneeze? Rodrick thought plants probably sneezed, but after testing with feathers, pepper and feet, concluded plants didn't sneeze. As well as being an incredibly interesting and groundbreaking scientific discovery, this project that Greg worked together on with his brother helped save Rodrick from being expelled from school. As it says in the book Rodrick Rules, tomorrow is a science fair, and if Rodrick doesn't turn in a project, he's going to flunk out of school. So that's why I offered to help him out with his project, but just this one last time. We worked together all night, and I don't mean to brag, but we did a really good job. Anyway, when Rodrick gets first prize tomorrow and passes science, I just hope he realizes how lucky he is to have a brother like me. That last sentence, by the way, is unironically true. There is no ulterior motive for Greg here, the so-called sociopath, according to Late Night Pies. He does it out of the goodness of his heart to help his brother out of a bad patch. Smash that like button if you think Greg isn't really that bad. He actually deserves a medal for putting up with Rodrick's antics. Part 6. Rodrick Heffley is a cursed character. Ask Charlie Wright. I actually think ever since Devon Bostick left the role of Rodrick Heffley, the whole character has become shrouded in darkness. Devon briefly bathed the character in light, but now the negativity permeating the very being of Rodrick Heffley has returned with a vengeance. Look at what happened to Charlie Wright, the replacement for Devon. He revealed that he received racist abuse upon accepting the part of Rodrick in the ill-fated Long Haul movie. He also received death threats.
Just calling me Asian, which yes, I am part Asian. I'm part Japanese, but I never really thought my Asian side showed as much until I started basically gaining hate crime, or people were being racist towards me, and I was like, wow, I guess I'm Asian enough for that, right?
As Charlie Wright recounted in a video on his YouTube channel, let's just say that when the world found out I was playing Rodrick, they weren't very happy. He shared that memes included messages like, "Name me a bigger downgrade," and that the backlash led to a depressive episode lasting almost 3 years, severely affecting his acting career.
Do I have any hatred or anger towards people who participated in the Not My Rodrick thing? No, I don't. It's fine. Life moves on. I did go through a depressive episode for almost 3 years afterwards, and it kind of ruined my acting career.
The hardest part about dealing with the hate was that I felt like I hadn't really done anything to deserve it, he said. Despite the movie's flaws, Charlie expressed that he gave his best performance, yet he faced unwarranted hatred and even threats on his life, simply for doing his job and trying to make Wimpy Kid fans happy. He further explained the difficulty of dealing with such negativity as a teenager with little guidance, having to suck it up and deal with it on his own. The fact that the relentless hate Charlie received led to severe depression highlights the dark side of fandom and the damaging impact of online bullying. As this user says, death threats over a Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie is some next level buffoonery. Charlie not only faced abuse, he also missed out on a big payday. The long haul was a critical and commercial disaster. It grossed only $40.1 million worldwide against a budget of $22 million, making it by far the least profitable film in the franchise. The film also received poor reviews, with a Rotten Tomatoes audience score of 37%, reflecting widespread disappointment from both critics and fans. Because of this failure, both planned sequels that were meant to happen with this new rebooted Wimpy Kid universe were cancelled. Charlie was paid $75,000 for the long haul, a huge amount of money, sure. However, he could have made a further $125,000 for a sequel and another $300,000 for a third movie.
Anyways, now, had we made a second movie, I would have ended up making $125,000 for that one. So altogether, the two movies, I would have made $200,000. Okay, last but not least, if we made a third movie, I would have made $300,000 on that one. So altogether, it would have been $500,000 or $500,000. Ouchie. That would have been a nice bag.
The Not My Rodrick campaign, which many people believe is the reason that the movie tanked commercially, cost Charlie a lot of money. He doesn't even seem bitter about it either, which is amazing when you think about what he's gone through. I mean, the guy is obviously a super strong individual mentally. I hope he has a fantastic future career, whatever he decides to go to, whether it's acting or even something else, because truly, after what he's been through, he deserves it. Outside of Devin Bostick, Rodrick is just a cruel character, shrouded in darkness. I ask you to reread the Diary of a Wimpy Kid books, new and old, and think of one positive character trait about Rodrick Heffley. I think you'll find it somewhat of a challenge. Rodrick is far from the normal teenager some fans believe him to be. Look past Devin Bostick. I know it's hard, and look past the nostalgia you have for those original 3 Wimpy Kid movies, and you'll understand this too. His actions towards his family and friends reveal a pattern of selfishness and cruelty that is difficult to overlook. This user notes, saying Rodrick is the most normal character is both true and an understatement. He's still got problems. He's really just a massive jerk. You kind of get the sense that he's going to end up being a loser in the future. Unlike Rodrick in the original movie trilogy, where he's shown to be decently clever, and in the second movie, you can tell he isn't going to become a mess like Bill, Book Rodrick is a lot more of a dunce. Hit that subscribe button if this video has, even in a tiny way, changed your opinion on Rodrick Heffley. And there's more similar content coming soon. You know it. See you later, Snipe Snappers. Peace out.